Okay, now how can we access this? Let's say we want to access this element here. 5, element 5. How can I access it in a list? And then how can I access it in the array? So let's start with the list. We should be able to know how can we access this in the list. Okay. I'm gonna make this consistent so that we can compare them. Okay, now I want to access this element, this 5 elements. How can I access it? In a list, because the list in Python, like when you have multiple dimensional lists, you don't really have a real data structure that is a multi-dimensional list. You have a list of lists. Okay, so if you want to access element number 5, this is the first element in the outer list, right? So the first element in the outer list is access 0 index. And then this will give us the entire list. Now 5 is the second element, which would be at index 1. Right? So that should print 5. Okay, so that is the 5 that we're trying to find. Now, how can I access that same element here in the array? I can use it like this, even though the internal structure is not the same. But this, the syntax would work still. Okay, so it would still print 5, but a more common way to access the element in the array, since it is a properly two-dimensional array, you can actually access it like this. So one set of square brackets, and then the index of the first dimension, and the index of in the second dimension. So that should give us the same thing. All right. Now we want to define a three-dimensional array. So let's say NP array. Now, how does the three-dimensional array work? Let's say the first dimension, we want to define an array of this shape. 2 by 3 by 2. So you see, when you have 3 dimensions, so these 2 dimensions together form a two-dimensional array. And then you add another dimension to them. So when you say 2 by 3 by 2, you're saying we have 2 matrices, each of them of the shape 3 by 2, which means that each of them has 3 elements. Each of those elements has two elements inside of them. Okay, so let's define it this way. Let's start. So here is the first, the surrounding bracket. So this is the three-dimensional matrix. Okay, this is the outer brackets. Now this three-dimensional matrix has 2. Okay, let me say 3 by 3 by 2. So when we say the first dimension is 3, means that this matrix has 3 two-dimensional matrices inside of it, right? So I say 3 here. So I prepare 3 matrices. 1, 2, 3. Each of them is 2-dimensional. Okay? So this one is 3 by 2, which means that it has 3 lists. Okay, so this is the first 3 here. And then each of them, each of these elements, or each of these lists has 2 elements. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, same structure here. This is supposed to be a 2-dimensional array. Each dimension, each row has 2 columns. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. When the numbers could be anything, it's just easier for me. Now again, this is a 2-dimensional matrix that has 3 rows, and each row has 2 columns. Okay. All right, so we have 3-dimensional. Okay, I can just say my 3-dimensional 3D list equals and all that. Okay, so now we define the 3-dimensional list. Now we want to turn this list into an array. So we can just say 3-dimensional array, np.array, and then we send it that list. Oh, I already have. Okay, now I'm just gonna print the array. And let's see how does it look like when we print it. All right, so here is our 3-dimensional array. All right, now what if we want to access this 5 element again? Let's say, okay, I want to access this 10 element. How can I access it? Through the array. So it is in the second 2-dimensional array, right? So the index of the second 2-dimensional array is 1. And then it is in the second row in that array. So the index of the second row is 1. And then it's the second column in that second row. So again, 1. All right. So if I try to print one and 1 and 1. So first dimension index 1, and then second dimension index 2, index 1, and then third dimension index 1, it should give me a 10. All right. Now, if I try to print the shape of that array, what do you think is the shape? What do you think the shape would look like? And also let's print the size. So what do you think the shape is gonna look like when you print it? First of all, the shape is a tuple, right? Okay, the tuple would have 3 elements according to the dimensions that we just defined. All right. So the 3 by 3 by 2, and the total number of elements is 18. Okay.